911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hey everyone, how are you all? It's good to be with you. Hi Mary. Hey John. Sorry that I was late getting here, guys. I had a couple of technical issues that I didn't expect. Hey CD. Happy New Year, my dear. How are you? It's so good to see you.
I'm fine, thanks.
Hey John, how are you? Hey Pigeon, how you doing, my dear? Hey Digital, good to have you with us. Hey Deborah. I hope everybody had a decent week, has enjoyed your Saturday. I have a lot to go over tonight. We're going to delve into some Delphi for sure. Going to update some of the other cases we've been following. Oh, well, there you go. And those friends over or sleepovers are always a lot of fun, aren't they, CD? I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and your kids got to enjoy all of the holidays. Hey, country girl, how are you? Welcome, welcome. Hey, Tartan Blood, how are you? John, how are you doing? Have you recovered from being sick? I was so worried about you. I'm glad that you're feeling better. I miss you when you aren't here. So, man, you guys, a lot going on. I know I had people asking me all week if I was going to go live yesterday after the court date in Delphi with Richard Allen. But I made the decision after watching everything. It was only like 10 minutes long. Yes, we learned some things, but I didn't feel it was really worth going live for. I just figured I would save it all for tonight and we could discuss some of it, because it's very interesting what absolutely happened. So I'm anxious to go over that. I'm going to share the first thing I want to share with everybody. Hold on one second here. Let me see what. So, hey Sharon, how are you? So good to see you tonight. Hey Frank, how are you, Frank? I caught the tail end of your live. I've got to rewatch the whole thing and get the whole gist on replay. I didn't get to see the whole thing, Frank Meister. Hey Carol, how are you? So Khadijah Rose Britton has been missing since 2018. She is an indigenous woman. She was born in 1994 on April 22nd. She was 23 years old, or she is 23 years old. Native American. She was 5'8" and 160 pounds. She was last seen on the night of February 7th of 2018. And according to a witness, Khadijah's abusive ex-boyfriend, whose name is Neji Fallis, arrived at a house armed with a Derringer pistol, demanding to speak with her. And when she came out, he attacked her and forced her into a black vehicle that was being driven by another person. The vehicle sped away, and Khadijah has not been seen or heard from since. Mendocino County Sheriff's Office is asking anyone with information about her disappearance to please contact 707-234-2100. The FBI also in San Francisco will take any tips on this case. 415-553-7400. And I am just, wanting to share some of these cases as we go along. I'm going to delve into some of them a little bit deeper, you guys. You'll just need to give me some time to put that all together. I'm working on a schedule for the channel to where we can kind of know what we're covering and when. Hey, Tech Death, I'm so sorry that you're not feeling well, my dear. I've been worried about you. You get some rest. It's okay. I hope the babies are doing well. So yeah, I will keep sharing these with you guys as we go along. And then we're going to cover some of it, some of the cases of these Native American women and girls that are missing, that no one seems to be talking about. So one of the things that I did want to bring up, we talked about this briefly back when it came out, I think in late November. Okay, I think it came out about the time that the Idaho case was breaking. But I don't know if you guys are aware or if you had heard that. Hold on a second here. I'm going to present this screen again. Just give me a second. There we go. I found out that I can present things differently, and I am so excited about it. I didn't ever pay attention before. And now I know that I can just do a tab, and it's so nice. So here we go. So, yeah. Adventures with Purpose founder has been arrested for child rape allegations or child sexual assault. And this is obviously the dive group that got so much attention during the Kylie Rodney case this year. And Jared Lysick was recently booked into the county jail in Utah after being accused of 2 instances of rape of a 9-year-old girl in 1992. He was 16 years old, and the child was his relative. Hey, Mrs. Thang, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, exactly, Digital. I don't know. I'm going to check into that case a little bit more. Hi, This'll Do Nicely. So good to see you. Founder Jared has basically come out and said that the allegations against him are true, but he apologized to the victim. I don't know that he's put a statement on the record with police or not, but hold on a second. I'm having issue here with my screen again. Sorry, I seem to be lagging, and I never lag, so I don't know what's going on tonight. I apologize. Hold on one second here. So Kathleen Bogenschutz, a criminal defense attorney and a former sex crimes prosecutor in the state of Florida, said cases like these are incredibly serious. In Florida, these kinds of crimes are considered capital offenses and colloquially also refer to them as capital sexual battery. She explained in an extended interview with the Law and Crime Sidebar podcast, and the reason for that is that they are punishable by life in prison or death. In Utah, the law is mandatory imprisonment for at least 5 years, but it could go up to life. And before a 2008 landmark decision by the Supreme Court, the death penalty was even on the table in some states for child sexual abuse cases. So this is something that is not going to be washed off quickly and not dealt with quickly. She said that who has also defended people accused of sex crimes during her career. Documents allege that during the first incident, the defendant pinned the victim to the ground and details penetration, according to Inside Edition. The second allegedly happened after their grandparents or at their grandparents' house and contained similar allegations. Lysick also reportedly apologized in a February email to the victim, according to documents reviewed by the U.S. Sun. His first line read, "I am so very sorry for the things that we cannot change." Bogenschutz said that such messages really don't look good for the suspect. Statements that are so highly inconsistent with being innocent that I can't imagine that he's not held responsible for them, at least based on the contents that were reported by the media. In his email, he reportedly revealed that he was a victim as well, as a result of their specific Mormon upbringing. Like yourself, I once was a victim by multiple people, both in and out of the family. It is unfortunate when when families like ours experience molestation. Hey, Louisa, good to see you. This isn't uncommon. It is not that all of them were victims themselves, but a higher percentage than you would expect to see were you pulling randomly from the population were victims either as children or later on in life. But at the same time, I mean, a 9-year-old that is not something that I imagine that a jury is going to forgive. And in fact, what I would do if I were the prosecutor is I would pick a jury full of Mormons because they all want to distance themselves from this immensely or immediately. Bogenschutz said she doesn't believe that Lysak's reported statements would be backed by the defense of a fallacious apology, which is conditional to benefit the affected party. The admissions are just too specific. And I can't imagine that would be a defense in this kind of a case. I would imagine that his age would be a mitigating factor. His age at the time, obviously, she explained how many 16-year-olds kill somebody with a car and, still have time, still have to do the time. How many 16-year-olds shoot someone and still have to do the time and are charged as adults? So, adult crime, adult time. So that's going on. We'll have to keep an eye on what happens. I think many of you may know that his business, Adventures with Purpose, as far as I know, every person who worked for him resigned and left. I don't know if he's been able to get new people. I haven't paid attention. I unfollowed them. I was a paying member. I stopped my membership, and I have not had anything else to do with them, with the company. I feel very badly because I think they were doing really, really good work. And it's sad that this had to happen. And I'm hoping that Nick and some of the other individuals that were associated with Jared are able to do something and maybe continue in this line of work or field, because it is extremely needed and it's been very helpful. We don't know yet, Digital. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know that they've even decided that yet, because he was just arrested right after the 1st of January. I think like around the 5th of January is when he was arrested. So I don't know that that's even come out yet. But, there you go. Huge YouTube channel. I mean, their following is unbelievable. I think they had like over 2 million subscribers. And that was just over like a 3-year period. And they had like 25 or 26 recoveries of missing people. So it was, like I said, they had done really good things for families that didn't know what happened to their loved ones. So the next case that I wanted to update you guys on is Athena Brownfield. And we talked about Athena on Thursday night. I updated you on the fact that she was missing and what was going on with her story. Since then, they have arrested the male caretaker of her and her sister. And this person, they did charge with her murder. So police do believe that Athena is no longer with us. And it just breaks my heart. They had a heavy police presence. Hold on a second. I'm going to share my screen again, you guys. Chrome tab. At a reservoir in Grady County, and they are searching for her. And it basically, law enforcement spent several hours searching the creek and wrapped up about 2 p.m. Today. It is unclear if anything has been found. The public information officer for the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation has confirmed that they are searching for Athena at the reservoir. Authorities have been out at the creek for several hours searching on a boat. 7 News was on the scene where multiple people driving by have said they know Ivan Adams has ties to the area, and Ivan Adams is who's been arrested for her murder. Numerous law enforcement vehicles are searching the waters at a creek reservoir in Grady County. We have reached out to the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation for information, but they hadn't heard back yet, and they did get that update. So they were out there searching for her, and then they stopped around 2:00 today. A second. I'm glad that they have him in custody. I still cannot believe in this case that these two adults went off and left this 5-year-old, her sister, completely alone in that house. They just all moved away and all left. And hey Dave, how are you? So good to see you. This is just absolutely crazy. It says that the obsessed caregiver, the female caregiver, excuse me, had a romantic weekend with her new boyfriend after she vanished. The caregiver charged with neglecting the missing 4-year-old, Athena Brownfield, enjoyed a romantic weekend with her boyfriend after the little girl vanished. Athena was reported missing on Tuesday, January the 10th, when a postal worker found her older sister wandering the streets near their home in Carroll, Oklahoma. The girls, Athena and her 5-year-old sister, Athena, were being looked after by Alyssa Adams, 30. But there was no one in the home when the worker checked. Athena is said to have told her that she was hungry and that she couldn't find Athena, her sister, who is described as being very shy. And that's a picture of the two sisters. And this is what she posted on Instagram. She said, the best night with the man of my dreams. And this person has already spoken out about her and is absolutely floored at what she's been charged with and the fact that these little girls were being neglected, and now one is possibly, it sounds like, not with us anymore. But yeah, here she is with all of her pictures, and she, over the weekend of January 7th and 8th, Alyssa, who had guardianship of the sisters with her estranged husband, Ivan, enjoyed a trip to the movies and a meal over an hour away in Oklahoma City with her new boyfriend, Bladen Davis. Law enforcement tells Fox News that Athena may have been missing since January 6th, 4 days before the postal worker found her sister. Over the weekend of January 7th and 8th, Alyssa, who had guardianship of the sisters with her estranged husband, Ivan, enjoyed a trip to the movies and a meal. Bladen has not been charged. He did not immediately respond to Daily Mail's comments or inquiries, and Alyssa was taken into custody yesterday on charges of child neglect, whereas Ivan was arrested on Friday as a fugitive of justice in Phoenix, Arizona. It is unclear why he was in the state or why he and Alyssa had custody of the sisters. Athena is now being cared for by the state. And they have 4 biological children of their own. This is Ivan, and he is the one who is accused and been arrested for her murder. When they left the home in Carroll, Oklahoma, the 4 children went with Ivan. That was what the initial news reports were. She went off with her new boyfriend and left her 4 children with Ivan. And they left the other 2 girls behind. That was the thought. This is where they are searching the body of water for her. And this is the home where she vanished from. Alyssa regularly shares videos of herself rapping on TikTok, singing along to the N-word and making joke clips about her life as a busy mother. She has 4 children of her own who regularly feature on her Instagram account, but Athena and Athena are never shown. It remains unclear how the girls ended up in her care. Her paternal grandmother, Pammy Brownfield, is now in Cyril, Oklahoma, joining the search, but the girls' biological parents are yet to be named. Part of the police investigation is identifying where the parents are, according to a spokesman for the Oklahoma Bureau of Investigation. Police are now searching bodies of water near the child's home, and they have not given any indication of evidence that she is no longer alive. But obviously they must believe that because because of the arrest for murder of Ivan. When they first reported her missing, they reported her missing as a 3-year-old. It has come to light that she's actually 4. So we are going to be following her case, you guys. I am absolutely devastated by this poor little girl and what may or may not have happened to her. It just doesn't make any sense to me as to why these keep happening. I mean, we talked about that the other night. These cases are so prevalent. It doesn't matter what day it is, they just keep happening. And there's just so many of them. And I understand, Dave. I totally do. And I can't imagine packing up your house and your 4 children and leaving 2 children you have custody over behind, especially with them being 5 and 4 years old. Who would do that? And she did. And then whatever happened and transpired as to what happened to poor little Athena, hopefully we'll find out. But man. So I was gonna update you a little bit on what's going on in Idaho, but I first wanted to show us this just because, you guys, everybody always talks about how some of these cases take so long in solving. And I just want you guys to know that if you never give up, things can happen. This cold case has finally been solved after more than 25 years. And it's from St. Francis, Wisconsin. The answers family and police in 3 states sought after for more than 25 years when a woman disappeared in St. Francis are finally known. Dorothy Lynn Rickers, forever 26 years old. This photo and a number of her personal belongings stored all these years by the St. Francis police. Actually, the investigator with highlighter wrote on here, missing person, save forever. Obviously, that investigator took this case to heart, said St. Francis Police Detective Holly McManus. The report says that on October 2nd, 1997, St. Francis Police got called for a suspicious person here off Lake Drive, and they found Dorothy Ricker sitting here staring out at the lake. And she actually told them that my understanding is that she was doing just fine, that she was enjoying the sunshine, said Detective McManus. Less than 2 days later, police discovered a vehicle abandoned near that spot where they'd seen her. The listed owner was Mrs. Ricker, and she was now listed through our database as missing and endangered. Inside Ricker's car, these identifying items, police later found her clothing near the water's edge. She was noted as having worn that purple sweater and jeans. Well, the purple sweater is what we have. It definitely had been in the elements between the water and the sand and the dirt. 3 weeks after Ricker disappeared in St. Francis, a body washed ashore in Manatee County, Michigan. There was nothing to go on other than she had an earring. She was not wearing any clothing. Michigan State Police notified other jurisdictions, but none could identify the woman who was eventually buried as Jane Doe in Michigan. 23 years later, the DNA Doe Project got involved, exhumed the body, and went to work. It was a DNA match with the genealogy of the family, said Lieutenant Carroll. Finding Ricker's daughter in Chicago and a brother in Maine, closure for family who long wondered what happened. I learned from called our investigator basically on the anniversary of her going missing every year to see if there was any sort of an update. Ricker's death was ruled a drowning. No foul play suspected, but still questions do remain. We can't even say it was a suicide. She might have taken her clothes off and gone for a swim and got caught up in a current or a riptide or something. I think when we take on cases that we don't have answers to, and we have physical property that belongs to somebody that matters to other people, it weighs on us that we can't find the answers. And so it's in our nature to go out looking for them. I just thought that that was a really wonderful story about how staying positive and hanging on to hope can bring closure to families in these cases that we cover. Because even though this case was not necessarily about a crime or homicide or anything like that, it is still a missing person and someone's mother and someone's sister and obviously daughter, and those people matter, right? Hey, Joy, how are you? So good to see you. So, yeah, 25 years, 23 years. Genealogy, you guys, genetic genealogy is really making a huge impact in the solving of long-term open cases. I think that it is amazing. I would encourage more people, if you do end up doing DNA, that you upload to GEDmatch, because if you upload there, that's where law enforcement has access to that database. If you choose not to do that, then they don't, because Ancestry and 23andMe do not allow access to law enforcement to their databases. So I just think if it was my loved one, I would want to know. Hey, Paris, how are you? So I thought this was a little bit interesting. We talked a little bit about Brian Kohberger on Thursday night, and I thought we would just mention a couple of things that has come up since then about him. And just let me share this really quickly. So Brian Kohberger's grad program had access to Crime Lab with camera streams. A Washington State campus insider compared Idaho murder suspect Brian Kohberger to a wolf in the henhouse. Brian Kohberger's doctoral program at Washington State University maintains access to a Crime Lab database of police body cam videos, as well as live streams from security cameras on and off campus, an insider told Fox News. The programs are referenced on the school's public website and are used to study policing and the complex social interactions between patrol officers and the people they encounter, as well as other governmental functions. The source, who works for the university and has direct knowledge of the department, is warning that the research tools in the wrong hands could have allowed a suspected killer to view unredacted crime scene images, potential videos of death, and even live streams of surveillance cameras with remote controls that allow the viewer to zoom in on faces. The university told Fox News Digital Friday evening that Kohberger was not part of the program. I don't think that any amount of positive research that has come out of this department is worth the risk of letting a wolf in the henhouse, the insider said. They are all obsessed with crime and criminals. You'd have to have a PhD in criminology, but sometimes that obsession goes to other levels and attracts this kind of madness. WSU's Complex Social Interaction Lab, or the CSI Lab, and Division of Governmental Studies and Services are research entities on campus. The DGSS recently unveiled a report after examining 5 years of data on Washington State police stops for evidence of bias, and the results were mixed. But alarming, according to the source, is the DGSS's access to live streams of security cameras around Pullman. One example taken from the command center shows multiple screens of live feeds, including one of a person in a car in a restaurant parking lot near Greek Row. More than 5 police departments share body cam video with the CSI Lab database, according to the university. One of them is the Pullman Police Department, according to the source, who could not confirm the additional agencies. Students can apply for access to the CSI Lab online by filling out a brief questionnaire. The CSI computers are located in the same building and on the same floor as the graduate offices, according to the insider. Who pointed the locations out on a map? The body cam terminals are separated from the department's main conference room by a soundproof wall and communicate with the internet only through limited pathways. It's unclear whether Kohberger had attempted this process, but the university vehemently denied that he was allowed in the CSI lab. Phil Weller, WSU's Vice President of Marketing and Communication, told Fox News Digital Friday evening that Kohberger never obtained entry to these programs. To be clear, he never had access to any footage from the Complex Social Interaction Lab at Washington State University. Access to that facility is strictly controlled. All research assistants must complete a background check, an FBI Criminal Justice Information Service Level 2 certification, be fingerprinted by the FBI, and sign a confidential agreement in order to enter the facility. Additionally, he said, the DGSS's closed-circuit TV internship program has been closed since the start of the COVID-19 era in 2020. Access to the facility is tracked through keycard records, and student employees did not have access to raw data or personally identifying information. The insider, however, claimed to have direct knowledge of multiple individuals who have not gone through the vetting or training to enter the facility and work as part of their duties, including our technical support staff. Moscow police told Fox News the department does not share its body cam archive or any live stream security camera streams with the researchers at WSU. Public records show that the Moscow Police Department officers visited the victim's home at least 3 times during the same semester as Kohberger was attending WSU, resulting in the creation of several body and dash cam videos showing interactions with the victims. and at least 2 of the victims were seen on a public Twitch stream ordering food on their way home just hours before they were murdered. Pullman, Washington, and Moscow, Idaho are 10 miles apart. The WSU CSI lab program has researched police use of force and other analytics gathered from the tens of thousands of hours of body cam video. The Insider also sees a problem in the advanced study of crime for academia's sake. I've always been skeptical of the research this department has done, especially the folks that don't go on to solve real-world crime in law enforcement, but stick around in academia and live and breathe this stuff on taxpayer dollars. And what does it really amount to? Basically just neutering police more and more every day. It's just sickening after all of this. If Kohberger, who in his high school yearbook indicated a desire to join law enforcement, still intended to do so, it's unclear when he planned to start. Although we do know that he did apply to be an intern with the Pullman Police Department sometime around or before the murders. Maybe it was in October. After obtaining a master's in criminal justice from DeSales University in Pennsylvania last year, the 28-year-old applied to the PhD program in Washington. He also has an alleged background of substance abuse, including heroin, according to past acquaintances. After getting clean, he spent the past several years surrounding himself with experts on the macabre. While at DeSales University, Kohberger studied under an expert on serial killers, Dr. Catherine Ramsland, who co-wrote a book with the BTK killer Dennis Rader. Rader killed 10 people between 1974 and 1991. At WSU, he studied under Dr. Melanie Angela Newelly, who in her CV describes herself as specializing in homicide, violent deaths, and violence as a public health concern, among other topics. Kohberger in recent months applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department, according to an affidavit in support of the warrant for his arrest, on 4 first-degree murder charges, and a count of burglary for allegedly entering a home with the intent to kill. Kohberger wrote in an essay he had interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations. The CSI lab aims to, among other things, use software to analyze police footage and give results and guidance to better police departments while providing hands-on experience in complex social interactions. Joseph Giacalone, an adjunct professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York and a retired NYPD sergeant, told Fox News that programs like the CSI Lab support legitimate research and foster relationships between students and the law enforcement community. We had nurses that have gone on to become serial killers and using the knowledge they had gained in nursing school to do it. This overwhelmingly majority of the individuals that take these classes intend to do good with it. On November 13th, Kohberger allegedly drove from his Pullman apartment to King Road, where the 4 victims had returned hours earlier after a night of college partying. Just after 4 a.m., he allegedly snuck inside and massacred Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. The 3 young women lived in the house, which police allege Kohberger had cased out on at least 12 occasions. Chapin, Kernodle's boyfriend, was staying the night. Kohberger then allegedly returned to the crime scene 5 hours after the slayings. Authorities have indicated most of them were asleep at the start of the massacre, although Kernodle may have been awake. A witness identified in the affidavit only as DM allegedly heard crying from Kernodle's room and a man saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." A short while later, police say she saw a masked man with bushy eyebrows leaving through a sliding door. A fifth housemate was also home at the time and not attacked. From there, the police alleged Kohberger took a meandering route home, avoiding the most direct path. Roughly an hour after the murders, according to the affidavit, Kohberger's white Hyundai Elantra appeared on surveillance camera around Pullman and on the WSU campus. Moscow police, with the help from the state agencies and the FBI, tracked Kohberger to the other side of the country, where he was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania on December 30th, 2022. He has since been extradited to Idaho, where defense attorney Ann Taylor waived his right to a speedy preliminary hearing Thursday, asking the court to schedule it for the end of June. Latah County Magistrate Judge Megan Marshall granted the request after there was no opposition from prosecuting attorney Bill Thompson. The hearing is scheduled to begin June 26th at 9 a.m. and could take 4 to 5 days. Taylor reasoned that waiving the 14-day deadline would give her more time to review the evidence obtained through discovery, which she filed a boilerplate request for Tuesday, according to court records. DM would likely testify with Kohberger seated in court. He could face the death penalty if he is convicted of these crimes. And so I thought that was extremely unbelievable and incredible. Hi, Chris. I was really, really shocked, you guys, when I read this article. And this one here is just as bizarre. But they're saying that, hold on, give me a second here, that Brian Kohberger has no emotion and little remorse as a teen. I think this speaks a little bit to him being a sociopath or psychopath. Messages and online posts from the PhD student now charged with 4 murders show that he was once detached and suicidal before he became fascinated with criminal minds. A criminology PhD student charged with stabbing 4 University of Idaho students to death had written years ago of having suicidal thoughts, not being able to feel emotions, and observing his own life as if it were a video game, saying he could do whatever I want with little remorse. The new revelations about this suspect, Brian Kohberger, come from posts that he made online or on an online forum in which he discussed his mental health struggles, as well as from interviews with those who knew him, and messages he sent to friends that were obtained by the New York Times. They paint a portrait of an anxious, isolated, and depressed teenager who turned to heroin use before eventually getting clean and becoming fascinated with studying criminal psychology, saying then that he hoped to one day provide counseling for high-profile criminals. I feel like an organic sack of meat with no self-worth, he wrote in 2011 when he was 16 years old, adding later in the same post, "As I hug my family, I look into their faces. I see nothing. It is like I'm looking at a video game, but less." Now, Mr. Kohberger, 28, is facing murder charges, accused of sneaking into a home shared by students just off the university campus in Moscow, Idaho, and stabbing 4 of them to death in the middle of the night. At the time of the killings, Mr. Kohberger was in the first semester of his PhD program at Washington State University, a 15-minute drive from the crime scene. He has maintained his innocence through his lawyer, and on Thursday he waived his right to a speedy preliminary hearing. A judge set a June date for the hearing, when prosecutors will outline evidence in an attempt to prove they have probable cause to try him on murder charges. The police have disclosed some of the evidence that led them to arrest. Mr. Kohberger at his parents' home in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania, saying they had relied on DNA from a knife sheath left on the bed with two of the victims, cell phone records that suggest his phone had been in the area a dozen times before the murders occurred, and surveillance footage of a white Hyundai like the one Mr. Kohberger drives, but the authorities have not outlined any motive for the killings, leaving families of the victims and acquaintances of the accused killer searching for answers. It's wild, says Jack Bayless, a Pennsylvania friend of Mr. Kohberger's, who was among those trying to understand how Mr. Kohberger came to be charged with such a heinous killing. Brian himself would have been fascinated by it. In online posts by Mr. Kohberger, dating from when he was a teenager, he berates himself and talks about feeling disconnected from society, unable to find meaning in his life. He describes an array of mental health challenges, including anxiety, depression, depersonalization, lack of emotion, and the constant thought of suicide. The words were posted on a forum website called Tapatalk, previously known as Youku, where Mr. Kohberger commiserated with other users while suffering from a little understood neurological condition called visual snow, in which a person's vision is obscured by scattering dots, much like the static seen on an analog television. Mr. Kohberger did not use his name on the website, but the post included a reference to his birthday. In addition, the username on the account, EXARR, matches an email address for Brian Kohberger that appeared in a 2009 leak of accounts from an online payment company. That account listed his location as Effort, Pennsylvania, the place where Mr. Kohberger grew up. Some of the posts also contained details that friends said matched their recollections of his behavior and struggles at the time. Friends have previously described Mr. Kohberger as having an intellectual bent, but said that he occasionally turned cruel and angry. At Washington State, his peers said he ranked some people with a habit of over-explaining and sounded particularly condescending when he spoke to his female classmates. The online posts from his teenage years provided deeper insight into what appeared to be a dark period of his life. On the forum website, Mr. Kohberger wrote that he saw a sickly, tired, useless, and stupid man when he looked at himself in the mirror and felt that he did not deserve to live. He also lamented treating his father like dirt, though he considered him a good man. "Nothing I do is enjoyable," Mr. Kohberger wrote. "I'm blank. I have no opinion. I have no emotion. I have nothing. Can you relate?" Mr. Kohberger said that his absence of emotion had begun about the same time as his visual snow symptoms in September of 2009, and one friend recalled him constantly talking about his fuzzy vision. "I know it was something that really bugged him," said Thomas Arntz, who was friends with Mr. Kohberger during high school, until they had a falling out. "He was basically to the point where he was neurotic about it." Dr. Francesca Pulita, a neurologist and researcher at King's College London, who specializes in visual snow, said it is so little understood that there is a debate among scientists over whether to call it a disease. But Dr. Pulita has worked with people who find the condition to be debilitating. "And we still don't know what causes it," she said. "We simply have to do more research." She said the presence of visual snow is not a sign of mental illness, but noted that one research team found that people who have the syndrome also report a high incidence of psychiatric issues such as anxiety, depression, and depersonalization. Mr. Kohberger wrote that he had tried anti-migraine medications, visited a neurologist, and gone on a strict diet, one that avoided sugar and starch, to try to resolve the vision problems. He wouldn't eat any bread, and he would only eat certain fruits. Mr. Arntz recalled that it was very restrictive. By 2012, it appeared that Mr. Kohberger was learning to live with the problem. Sounding more optimistic, he wrote on the forum that he had accepted his ailment and was coming to terms with it. He graduated from high school in 2013, but had also begun to use heroin around that time. Rich Pasqua, who graduated from high school a few years ahead of him, said that they used to use heroin together in 2013 and 2014 at a time when they both worked at a pizza shop called New York Pizza Girl in Effort, Pennsylvania. Mr. Pasqua, now 31, recalled that Mr. Kohberger was socially awkward and did not appear to have many friends, frequently calling him and offering him to share his marijuana. Mr. Pasqua, who said he is now sober and working at a rehabilitation center, recalled in one instance driving with Mr. Kohberger through the gated community where Mr. Kohberger's parents lived, trying to evade a private security guard. We would make it to a cul-de-sac and we'd see their orange lights, and Brian would be like, "Go this way." Mr. Pasqua recalled, he was like, "We're going to get in so much trouble." Mr. Pasqua said his wife, who was in Mr. Kohberger's year, remembered that Mr. Kohberger had been heavier when he was in high school and was bullied over his weight. Mr. Kohberger wrote in the online forum in 2011 of having lost half his body weight, and Mr. Pasqua recalled teasing him on one occasion as well, telling him to walk to the private community gates in the snow to get some heroin from him, only to not be there when he showed up. Eventually, Mr. Pasqua said Brian's father would pick up the phone when he called, once saying that his son was on a top secret mission, which Mr. Pasqua realized meant he was in rehab. Years later, Brian appeared to be doing much better, studying psychology at DeSales University in Eastern Pennsylvania, and telling one friend that his drug problems were in the past. "I only used when I was in deep suicidal state," Brian wrote in May of 2018 to Mr. Bayless, with whom he had been friends since the 8th grade. "I have since really learned a lot. Not a person alive could convince me to use it," Mr. Kohberger followed up later that day, telling Mr. Bayless that he had been off drugs for 2 years and telling him to not mention his drug use again, according to screenshots of their conversations on Facebook Messenger. He told Mr. Bayless at one point that he thought he had been depressed since he was 5 years old, for so long that he had developed a weird sense of meaning. In one message from October of 2018, Mr. Kohberger wrote that he was interested in studying criminals. He said he would like to be involved in capturing violent criminals, but that it could be difficult to get a job like that. "I'm thinking more along the lines of dealing with high-profile offenders," he wrote, "counseling." Among the details that emerged in a police affidavit last week was that Mr. Kohberger had last fall applied for an internship with the police department in Pullman, Washington, where he was living while studying at Washington State University. And officials have declined to say whether or not he was, or that he, whether or not he got that internship. Shannon Gray, a lawyer for the family of Mr. Gonsalves, said family members have been searching for information that might show a connection between the victims and Mr. Kohberger, but that no link has emerged so far. They didn't know him, he said. I'm just like, I mean, you know, he has got a lot going on here. I mean, there's just like, you know, I know that Idaho does not have an insanity plea. You cannot plead insanity in Idaho. So I don't know what's going on here. I mean, it sounds like he's got some red flags in his past and that he should have possibly been, people should have possibly been aware that he had some major psychological issues. I guess more will come out on that, but I just think that, you know, you would have thought possibly that his professors would have picked up on some of it. But, these guys, we have to remember, these psychopaths and sociopaths are very good at hiding any kind of illnesses or disorders that they have. And we keep going back to Ted Bundy, but it's, Ted Bundy and BTK are notorious examples of this. They were able to fly under the radar and appear completely normal. Ted Bundy had a girlfriend. He held down a job. He worked counseling. He answered suicide hotlines. And then you've got BTK that was able to really have two lives. He lived this high-profile life in his community and was able to fly completely under the radar while he was killing people over a span of 25, 30 years. It's crazy. It's hard for us to wrap our heads around that. So let's get into Delphi, guys, because we had a lot happen yesterday. Hold on one second. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about yesterday that floored me when I was watching this, and I was on Twitter and I was trying to get all of the current updates, and I have an alert system through WTHR. It comes to my phone. I have their app, and anytime there's a Delphi update, it immediately comes to me now. And I kept waiting for somebody to update what went on or what was going on yesterday. And I didn't. I kept looking for my friends. I don't know if Frank Meister's still here or if he was there yesterday, if he was in court. I don't know if anybody went to court yesterday from the YouTube community. I didn't see anything where anybody posted that they did. I know the families were there because the gag order was extended, and the judge said that she was going to extend it, and she made a point of telling the families that this extended to them as well. And so they walked out of the courtroom and out of the courthouse and never said anything. They didn't talk to anyone. So I was absolutely shocked at how Richard Allen has changed since November. I noticed that he's still got his shaven head, but he's lost weight. And that was the first thing that I noticed right away from what I saw of him. And they brought in two females, and I'm assuming it's his mother and his wife, and they were seated in the courtroom, and he mouthed to them, "I love you." And so I'm assuming that they're still, standing by him. So that's what we know there. Well, then the other motion that Judge Gull was hearing yesterday was on the change of venue. And we were all really expecting her to change the venue, and she didn't. The trial is going to remain in Carroll County and will be in the Delphi courthouse. However, they are going to choose the jury from a different county. And she gave both sides, the prosecution and the defense, 1 week to agree on the county where the jurors will come from. And it looks like they're still looking 150 miles away, because both sides did agree that there is no way that they can get an impartial jury in Carroll County. Well, duh. I mean, how would you even begin to think that you could? She went on to say that most of the people in Delphi either have interacted on some level with this case, whether it be in the search for the girls, whether it be afterwards helping do flyers and helping for raising money for the park, for whatever. That there's just a huge community that has had their hand in this case in one way or another. So it would be really hard to find anybody impartial. And both sides agreed with that. And so now we have to wait to see, will it be Evansdale, or not Evansdale, sorry, Evansville, Evansville? Will it be, I think it's Jefferson. Hold on, let me look it up. I should have had that up for you guys. Give me a second here. Evansville and it's the county that's over by Louisville, and I'm trying to, it's a big county. Hold on a second. I can't remember what they called it. But that's the one that they're talking about. But they're both at the very tip of the state. And those are the two counties that they're talking about possibly looking at to pull jurors from for this case. So it'll be interesting. They only have a week, and then they have to get back to the court with their decision. And yeah, that courtroom is so tiny. I was thinking the same thing, that there's not going to be very many people allowed in there. They're going to have very small amount of press that'll be able to be in there, because they're going to have families. The families of the victims are going to take precedent, I know. And obviously the family for Richard Allen. So far, only 2 people have been coming. So it'll depend on that. But they take precedence over everything else. And then they'll open it up, to the public. So it'll be interesting to see. But they're going to pick the jurors from way down south in southern Indiana, and then they're going to bring them in. So they'll be busing them in, and then they will sequester them for however long the trial ends up being. And that means that they're going to house them in a hotel, and they'll have to be sequestered from hearing any kind of news reports or reading any kind of newspapers or whatever. So they can't hear anything that's going on about the trial while they are sitting jurors. That's going to be tough, because when you try to find a jury or a juror that wants to go away from home 150 miles, that's a lot to ask for someone, especially if they have families and children and all of that. So jury selection might not be as easy as they think. They might end up with a lot of retired people on this jury, which I would think that they would want a wide variety of a demographic, but that's just me. I mean, they pay people, they have experts that pick juries, so they know more about it than I do. Were you guys surprised? How did you guys feel about, were you guys surprised that the trial was going to remain in Delphi? Yeah, Digital, no kidding. And those jurors were sequestered for 8 months. 8 months. And they almost lost the entire jury. because they had all gotten replaced. They were down to like one, I think they had one alternate left, and it was going to be a hung jury if they had to get rid of another juror. It was really a big deal. So yeah, I just wondered what you guys thought about the fact that the trial is still going to be in Delphi. I thought that was big. I didn't expect that at all. I thought all along that, that they would move it out somewhere to a much larger city. And I am Paris. I agree. I kind of was happy about that for the families, so that they don't have to travel so far, because I thought that was going to be very difficult for them. They did say in court that they agreed that there will be no trial in March, you guys. There's not going to be anything going on with that. The discovery in this case is enormous, and there was a motion. I went over all of that with you guys on Thursday night about what the defense was asking for as far as all of the evidence that they wanted. And Judge Gull was like, I'm not going to rule on this. You guys have been working really well together. You guys know how the law works. You know what you're supposed to do as far as turning discovery over to each other, because both sides have to do it. If the defense finds something out and doesn't share it with the prosecution, they can be in just as much trouble as the prosecution not sharing everything they have with the defense. So there was an interview with Richard Allen's attorneys after the hearing, and they did speak about procedural stuff, and they talked about Richard Allen and how he's faring. They didn't talk about anything. Yes, John, when the discovery happens, we will learn more about it. Most of the time when discovery happens, it's going to happen in the court. We're going to hear about it in court with the evidence that's being presented. But we will hear, obviously. They're not going to, the prosecution nor the defense is going to allow leaks of their discovery before the trial, because they don't want the other side to know what they have, or what they're going to be doing. It's a game plan. It's a battle. When you are trying a case, or when you are going in and you're prosecuting a case, or you're defending a defendant, and you have to have a game plan in motion of how you're going to address the evidence, how you're going to portray it, and how you're going to defend it. And so they don't want to give those up. It's the same as giving up your playbook in the football game. You don't want the other side to know that stuff. And that's why stuff like that is kept really close to the vest. It's why law enforcement keeps things close to the vest, for the very same reason. Even though there is a thirsty desire amongst all of us to know more, and have more information, we're just going to have to sit tight and be patient until the case actually gets into the court. We may find things out at a preliminary hearing, because he hasn't had a preliminary hearing yet. And at the preliminary hearing, that is when both sides present their case, sort of. You're going to hear the evidence that the prosecution has against him, and you're going to hear the defense arguments against that evidence. And then the court decides if there is enough to hold him over for trial. And hey, Mist, how are you? And that's how the preliminary hearing works. And those are the things like the preliminary hearing. That's where those are supposed to happen within 14 days of arrest. Those are, and if you hear that, that's the due process that we all hear about. But with Richard Allen's case, or with Brian Kohberger's case, he just absolutely waived it. He waived his right to a speedy trial, and he was like, it's fine. I don't need one. Richard Allen's the same way, because there is so much discovery. They have nearly 6 years worth, and his attorneys said there's just thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of pages of notes, not arrest, but interviews, lab reports, anything and everything that's in an investigator's murder book, basically. All of that. And I can guarantee you that they have stacks of them. There's not just one. It's just, they've got stacks of these books that have all this stuff in them. And that stuff has to all be gone over with a fine-tooth comb by the defense to see if there's any holes in it that they can punch holes in. And like I said the other night, they're going to attack this case line item by line item. They're not going to do it as a bulk. They're going to break down every single individual thing and pull it out and try to make it not be anything that's makes any big deal or whatever. And they will make motions to get evidence thrown out that they don't feel that the evidence should be allowed in because maybe it's too damning or whatever. There's all kinds of things that the defense can put forth to try to get rid of evidence so that it never appears in the court. Carroll, there are plenty of hotels within 30 minutes drive. Lafayette, Indiana is only 10 to 15 minutes from Delphi west. And that is where Purdue University is at, in West Lafayette. So yeah, they actually have plenty of places that they can house the jury there. So Lafayette's a pretty decent size community. I can't remember how big it is. Hold on. Yeah, it's in 2021 it was 70,835, and that's just in Lafayette. And then you've got West Lafayette has an additional 44,000. So over 100,000 people is in that big of a city, about 15 minutes from Delphi. So yeah, they won't have any trouble finding accommodations for their jury. So yeah, I mean, those are the things that, I was kind of surprised that she didn't rule on the evidence discovery motions by the defense and just basically said, I'm not going to rule. You guys just work together. You've been working really well together up until now. I thought that was great to hear, because that's what you really want. That means things will go smoothly and you won't have a lot of craziness going on between the sides. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it was only a 10-minute court hearing. It didn't last long at all. After that hearing was over, Judge Gull emptied the courtroom and asked everyone to leave, including the prosecution, and the defense stayed behind, and she heard a motion that they had requested additional public money to hire investigators and expert witnesses for his defense. And she has not made a ruling on that yet. According to his attorneys, she had not yet ruled on that. But she did hear all of their evidence and what and why they needed it and what they wanted him for. So that will be forthcoming. They talked about Richard Allen and how he's, there was a question posed to them on how Richard Allen is holding up. And they said that he is very anxious. He's not doing extremely well, but under the circumstances, he's doing as well as can be expected. He misses his family. He misses interactions with other people. What else did they say? He, I think he has kept isolated 23 hours out of the day or something like that. And he's only allowed to exercise like an hour of the day, or I'm not sure how that all works, but yeah, he's not allowed to be in, in with other general population. So he's being, I don't know if they still have him on suicide watch or not, but, they seem to be guarding him pretty heftily. I was very surprised that they had a SWAT team guarding him. They actually came into the courtroom and swept the defense table before they allowed him to sit there. They're being very, very careful and very protective, not only of him, but of everyone in that courthouse and courtroom, which, is good to see. But yeah, they are, because you just never know who wants to take justice into their own hands and do something like that. So when they've been moving him, I did see, and I wanted to ask you guys, because I didn't even look this up. Does anybody know when Tobe leaves office? When does Tony Liggett take office? Has he already taken the office? Because I saw Tobe standing on the stairway when they were taking Richard Allen out of the courthouse to take him back to jail. And Tobe was standing there, and then he kind of walked behind them all down the stairs. And I was just kind of surprised to see him. I thought by now that they would have already turned over the reins to Tony. And then I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, maybe they needed the manpower. So maybe, some of the retired guys or whatever is going to do some of that for this trial. I was kind of surprised. But I do think that it'll be better in the long run to have the jury pool coming from Southern Indiana, because you don't want to have anything that can be turned over on appeal. And definitely you don't want people to say that the jurors weren't impartial. And I think they have a better chance of getting an impartial jury away from Delphi. There's still going to be people. Hey, Verbal Judo, how are you? So good to see you. You can always watch it on the replay. It's all right. But it's a big thing. People worry about that, and as they well should. I was talking to my judge friend last night, because it was my poker night. For those of you who do not know, I play poker on Friday nights with my best friend and some other people, and her husband is the judge. And so I always get to talk to him on Friday nights for sure about the cases that I cover And I always, ask questions and run things by him. And he's wonderful for that. But we were talking about the whole um, sequestering of the jury and how that can present a whole ball of unwanted things to the court. Um, and anybody that is alive that remembers the OJ trial like I do, it, it was a fiasco when it came to the jury and the problems that they had with the sequestering of the jury. When you start sequestering people and you don't allow them to talk to their, they can't talk about this case to anyone, and you've got sheriff deputies assigned to them in the hotels that they're staying at, watching them, every move that they're making, because that's what that means. It's like being in jail yourself. And a lot of jurors have talked about that it's just like being in jail. I mean, they watch. If you're taking notes, they watch to see what you're doing, what you're writing, what are you doing with those? And, they have the sequestered jurors in the OJ trial. They would try to get them out and take them to outings. I think they took them to a baseball game. They took them, I don't remember. They took them to a couple of different things, but, yeah, and then you get stuck with all these people, and there's like 24 of them because you have two jurors. You have the jury that's going to sit and hear the case, and then you have the alternate jury that they chose as well because they have a pool of alternate jurors that they can replace the jurors with if something happens. If a juror gets sick or something happens to a juror and they can't continue, then they have to replace them. So those jurors also have to be sequestered. Hey, Island, how are you? Good to see you. I did get the email from your friend, and I am looking into that case. So I just wanted to let you know, and thank you so much for sending me the email. I definitely will be looking into it. But yeah, the sequestering of a jury can be a very big deal, and it can really take its toll. So it depends on how long this case is going to last. And I do know that one of the big things that the defense was pushing for is they want access to all of the witnesses. They want access to all of them, even the underage witnesses. And I don't know where that's going because she didn't really rule on that. So I don't know how that's going to happen, but they want access to them. And I just, you got to be really careful when you're dealing with underage, when you're dealing with minors that are going to be testifying in court. So that's going to be interesting in this case because we have minors that are witnesses, that are eyewitnesses to seeing this guy. And if you think about it, I can't remember who said it earlier, but there is so many similarities between the Idaho case and Delphi, because in the Idaho case, we have eyewitnesses. We have an eyewitness. And the judge in that case specifically wrote, what are they called, you guys? She wrote all of these things that he has to stay away from all of these people, the family members of the victims, the eyewitness, the roommates that are still alive, all of it. I mean, they He cannot talk to them. He cannot have any contact with them, social media wise, letter wise, any wise. And rightfully so. I mean, I wouldn't think that would be a good thing in a case ever, in my opinion, to allow that. But she actually put those in play, those legal documents through the court in pace. They're not provisions. It's what do you sign out against someone when you don't want them near you? What is it called? I can't think of it. It's a it's like an order of protection. But it's not an order of protection. It's an order of a restraining order. That's what it is. I cannot believe I could not think of that. Thank you, Kiwi, so much. Thank you, Richard. You guys are so awesome. Yeah, a restraining order. So she signed, the judge in the Idaho case signed out all these restraining orders that he cannot have any contact with any of these people. And the people are actually named. In the restraining order, it was actually their initials, because I saw them all. I looked them all. But so I am not surprised by that at all, Tech Death. I have absolutely no respect for that man. He doesn't belong on TV. He doesn't belong giving advice to anyone. It doesn't surprise me at all that he would be doing that. He's doing that salaciously. It's horrible. I cannot stand that person. I'm like, he just thinks he knows so much. It's just, he does not belong on television. He does not. I'm so sorry. But anyway, that's my rant on Dr. Phil. But I just, like I said, they there's pictures out there, there's pictures of the girls, all of them together. They're on social media. So yeah, they have the pictures. There's the pictures of the other two roommates, but I don't think it's something that should be being spread around. It's like I said, people need to chill out and give them space, he has no business giving any medical advice or any kind of advice to anyone. I'm just floored, absolutely floored that man has a TV show. But oh well. Again, yay, John. I knew there was a reason why I loved you so much. The Hall of Shame. Dr. Phil and Nancy Grace. Yeah, I just can't handle Nancy. I just can't. Yeah. Yep, Carol, the gag order is in place. She extended the gag order. Yeah, I heard about that on Twitter. There was a lot of people going off on her on Twitter about the fact that she was sitting at a table in front of the house. And I was like, somebody made the comment that if it was a guy that was sitting there giving his show, nobody would say anything. But I don't agree with that. It's one thing to stand in front of the house and give a thing, but to sit there and have your show like that, I just thought that was a little a little much, but she's, she's got a lot of people that follow her, and has a huge following. So she's keeping the case alive, and she's keeping yeah. You thought it was photoshopped? Yeah, I could see that. No, she made a big deal about it. Sorry guys, she made a big deal about it on Twitter when she was traveling to get to Moscow, and she was posting all on Twitter. But yeah, I mean, I guess we could talk about those kinds of characters a lot. They're all over out there. And I talk about it all the time to you guys about how we should cover these cases, and the way that we do cover them matters. How we tell their story matters. And it matters to the families that are left behind. It matters to the victims' legacies. And these people that we cover and these cases are not a novel. It is not a novel that you open up and start reading and getting all into. These are real events and real people and real lives that have been snuffed out and destroyed. People left behind, absolutely broken and destroyed. And we can never lose sight of that ever when we're talking about this stuff. But she's very arrogant. The one thing that I get from Nancy Grace is her arrogance and how it comes out. And what's weird is that I really liked her when I first started watching her, when she first got her show and she first came on. And then as things started to escalate and she started to get really big and huge, a huge following, I just noticed a change in her. I get that she is a victim of violent crime and that she lost her loved one to it. And I understand that. But for her to go on national TV and try these cases in the media the way in which she does, she is not doing anybody any good. There's one thing about talking about evidence and talking about a suspect, a quote suspect, but to just, as soon as a name is revealed, just act like, they need to throw the key away. The way she talks about these suspects and stuff, it's just always bothered me, because she's a prosecutor. She knows better. She knows that in our system, in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. And we need to always remember that. And I heard today that Brian Kohberger says he's going to be exonerated. He firmly believes that he is going to be exonerated for these crimes. So I'm not saying, I'm sure that a lot of people say that get arrested for whatever, but I was kind of floored by that response. He is absolutely waiting for his day in court to be exonerated. So Richard Allen's not been that vocal. He hasn't come out. We haven't heard him say anything. We haven't heard him say anything. I mean, I think his attorneys said the first time. Yeah, Carol, I heard that too. Did you see this? Did you see the officer, the sheriff's officer that whipped his head around to see who it was? That's what I thought was interesting, was as soon as they started yelling at him, that officer flipped his head to see who that was. But yeah, they were heckling him as he was entering into court, talking about yelling at him being a child killer. And I don't know who that was, because we didn't have the press that we had this time around that we had the first time around, where they were outside and everybody was standing outside and doing interviews and stuff, because there's a gag order now. They can't talk to anyone. So I don't think they're as quick to want to have people there covering it, because there's not really much to cover. They can't interview people. It's just basically them talking about what they observe or whatever. So but felt like I got bit on my ankle. I was like, what bit me? So, but anyway, guys, I hope that you didn't lose faith in the system this week. You know, 2 huge high profile cases. We've got Idaho and we've got Delphi happening, and they are going to be pretty simultaneous. I don't think we're going to see Delphi. I really do feel that. Oh, is that who it was? Now I know who it is. Oh, good Lord. That's all I will say to that is, oh, good Lord. I don't think we're going to see Delphi in court for trial this year. I will be very surprised if Richard Allen is in court this year for the trial to start. So there's just too much discovery, and it takes manpower. And his attorney said they have help, and they do have people helping them. But this case is huge, and there's a lot that they have to go through, and they don't want to miss anything. So, and you can imagine, I was thinking about it. Excuse me. I was thinking about it yesterday when I was talking to my friend, the judge, and we were talking about how you have to do all this discovery and you have to give it all up to the other side, you know? And I'm like, that's got to kind of be hard. You know, the prosecution is building their case as well. I mean, they have their evidence and stuff, but at the same time, they kind of have to wait. They're kind of in a holding pattern while they wait on the defense to catch up, because they know what's in all those pages and pages and pages of discovery, because they've worked the case. They've seen the case. They've gone over the case. So it will be interesting to see how many more court dates we end up with. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Kagan Klein case. We haven't heard much about that at all. There's not been a whole lot of talk about them and what's going on with the Kleins, which I know is on everybody in Delphi's mind. People want to know what's going on with that. There's still a bunch of people that believe that they're involved in this. So, yeah, there's a lot to keep an eye on and to keep us invested, so to speak. But I hope you all have a great weekend. And I hope you all get some well-deserved rest from these football playoffs that everybody's going crazy over. There's a lot of football to be had and a lot of football being played. So enjoy it. And I am going to hop off of here, and I will see you guys all on Tuesday. Please be safe out there, and always be kind to one another. I love you guys. Have a great evening.